Hey, my name is Betty Suggs,
And I'm BobbiJo Hearn.
and for our instructional strategy, our second one, we're doing a math strategy, and it will be a game. It'll be an activity of we'll play a game of Jeopardy. It is a it will go under a fourth grade standard 4.NBT.5. The standard is multiply a whole number of up to 4 digits by a one-digit whole number and multiply two-digit numbers using strategies based on place value and the properties of operations. Illustrate and explain the calculators by using equations, rectangle arrays, and or area models. But for this particular strategy, we'll only be doing multiply a whole number of up to 4 digits by one-digit number and using strategies based on place value. So that's what would be underlined. And then today's objective would be the student will be able to solve equations that multiply one-digit whole numbers by multiples of 10 and 100 by using strategies of place value to solve the equations, and our strategy would be the game of Jeopardy. So for a normal game of Jeopardy, Jeopardy is like a quiz competition, and people are asked certain questions. In a normal game, answers would need to be in the form of questions, but for our game, they don't need to be. The kids can just give an answer. For the game, you choose a category. The students will choose a category, and they'll choose however many points they want to do. So as the amounts increase on the game board, the amounts of the points, the questions become more difficult. And so since 800 is the highest number of points on our game board, those are the hardest questions, and then the 200 questions, those will be the easiest questions.
So our game of Jeopardy would be very similar to the Jeopardy game that you would watch on TV, except ours only has 3 categories. It has multiplying by 10, multiplying by 100, and then I also threw some word problems in there for higher learning. So they would pick a category. They'd probably be in groups or something, or if it's a small group, then you'd just have them individual. So they would pick a category, and then it would ask a question, and then they would answer the question. And it would give the answer. So if they got it right, then that's good, and if not, then that would be time to give more explanation to them, and then you'd go back to home, and then they would pick another one, and that's how the game would be played. So I think a good way to model for this standard would be to have like a poster that is already made where you just go over with them how to multiply one-digit whole numbers by two-digit whole numbers and one-digit whole numbers by three-digit whole numbers. And so just have the poster and then explain it to them. And then for guided practice, you could write some problems on the board and then have them do it, and then just guide them along as you are doing it. And then the independent practice would be the Jeopardy game. It would be independent practice because it would be expected that through the guided practice and the modeling that they have gotten it down for the most part by this point. So during the Jeopardy game, the teacher wouldn't offer very much help. For a formative assessment, you could, as you are doing your Jeopardy game, just watch and make sure that they are getting the questions right, and if they are getting it right, then you're good. You've taught it to the best that you can. And then if they aren't getting it right, if they aren't getting the questions right, maybe you need to go back over and maybe do guided practice some more and maybe model some more. So as a summative assessment, this activity wouldn't be the best thing because if you're playing the game with an entire class, then there's probably going to be some instances where every student doesn't really get to answer the question on their own. So then that wouldn't be, it wouldn't help you be a good judge of if that student really has it or not, at least not for a summative assessment. And it could be used for like a study guide though before a summative assessment. You could like go over all the questions that you would put on a summative assessment with the class and
review it that way.
Yeah. You could also play this game without a smartboard and without a laptop. You would just draw the categories like on your whiteboard, and then you could have cue cards for the questions. So like a student would say they want multiplying by 10 for 200. So on the board you would cross off the 200 slot, and then you would read that question, and then you would keep the score on the board. And then that way you don't necessarily have to have technology, because not every school does have technology. So that's how you would do that.
So now BobbiJo and I are going to demonstrate our instructional strategy to Jeopardy. And I will be the student and BobbiJo will be the teacher. And because I'm going to be the student, I'm going to purposefully get some of the questions wrong, and I'll get some of the questions right, so you guys can see what it's going to look like in a classroom setting, and like some of the feedback that you as a teacher should give back to students who are correct and incorrect on their answers.
And we're also just going to go through the whole game, because the one that I made, it really isn't that long, but you definitely could make it longer. It really can be as long as you want, but I would say not to make it too long, because you don't want the kids to get bored.
And we are using a laptop to play our game of Jeopardy, but of course you would put it on the smart board or use a projector to put it on a board to play the game. So before the Jeopardy game, if I was the teacher, I would go ahead and tell the students what the expectations are. And so I could be like, during this lesson today, I expect you all to be engaged and listen as I'm speaking. I expect you to be courteous to others as they work out problems and answer in Jeopardy. I expect you to be silent and pay attention to like whatever is being taught. I expect you to raise your hand and ask questions if you don't understand something at any time. And this can be like during the demonstration of Jeopardy. I expect you to be good sports and not huff and puff if your team doesn't win Jeopardy, because everybody is working hard and has earned their team's points. I expect you to work diligently in your notebooks and complete the work asked of you after the game of Jeopardy.
Okay, class. Today we are going to play a game of Jeopardy, and it's going to help you practice multiplying one-digit whole numbers by two-digit whole numbers and one-digit whole numbers by three-digit whole numbers. So our categories on our game board are multiplying by 10, multiplying by 100, and I threw some word problems in there for you to help you get a little bit more practice. Okay, so at this time we would start our Jeopardy game, and I would have already split all of these students up into their groups. So now I will demonstrate how the game should go. Group 1, go ahead and pick a category for me.
I want multiplying by 10 for 600 points.
Okay. What is 8 times 40?
280. We were wrong.
I'm sorry, Group 1. That was not the right answer. The right answer was 320. So we're going to go ahead and move to Group 2. Group 2, pick a category and a number.
Multiplying by 100, 200 points.
3 times 500.
15,000. Ah, so close.
I'm sorry, group 2. The answer was 1,500. So now we're going to move to group 3. Group 3, pick a number.
We'll take multiplying by 10 for 200 points.
What was it?
Multiplying by 10 by 200 for 200 points.
Okay. 6 times 10.
60. Yay!
The answer was 60. Good job, group 3. And as a teacher, so you would see that group 1 and group 2, their first questions, they got them wrong. So that means that group 1 and group 2 don't have the content down. So you might want to go over the posters again and work some more problems out with them on the board because they don't have it. Group 3 has it, but the other ones don't.
So for the very end, we would close the lesson or the activity, and we'd be like, well, now you should have an understanding of how to multiply, and you would ask the students if they had any questions about the lesson, and that's it.